Stunning news out of the Pentagon this morning, a story that hasn't gotten a lot of attention lately, but it certainly is a big one. The military, in a new survey, says the number of reported sexual assaults has skyrocketed in the past year to more than 20,000 reported in 2018. That's on par with the number 5 years ago. So this number is coming after the military has taken extraordinary steps to try to reduce the incidence of assault in the military. This is how they define military sexual assault. They call it rape, forcible sodomy, aggravated sexual contact, abusive sexual contact, and attempts to commit those offenses. All of that tracked in this new Pentagon survey, and our Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez joins us now from over there. You got an early look at all this information, Louis. Certainly eye-opening. What did the survey find, and who is at greatest risk?
Devin, the people at greatest risk are the female service members between the ages of 17 and 24, which equates to the junior enlisted members in the military. This is a study that's carried out every 2 years by the military, and it kind of gives an eye into what is going on when it comes to sexual assault. They look for trends, they spot where they need to focus on, and what they're realizing today is that they really need to focus on these very young female service members, and also on their male peers, because the study found that it is their peers, both in age and in rank, so maybe just at the same rank or maybe 1 or 2 ranks above, that these are the individuals who, in these incidents, who are perpetrating the incidents of sexual assault. So what the military is going to be doing is that they say they're going to be focusing on that age group. They've got new plans in place, essentially changing some of the things that have been working in the past, but which officials, they were very candid, Devin. They said that they were disheartened. Some of them said that they were angry at seeing at these numbers, because just 2 years ago, the numbers had gone to the lowest ever since they've been carrying out these surveys over the last decade. And now just to see the numbers just go back up to where they were 5 years ago, they're not encouraged. But what they do know is that they know that change has to be done. And they say that that's part of the situation. They have to be adaptable. You can't keep going with the same planning or the same prevention efforts. You have to keep up with what's working and change what's not working.
All right. Clearly, more change needs to be done in the ranks of at the Pentagon and our military. Louis Martinez, thanks for the breaking news there today. Let's bring in 2 military veterans and survivors of sexual assault in the ranks, also 2 advocates pressing the military to do more. Trina McDonald served in the Navy. She joins us now, as does Stacy Thompson, a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps, both outspoken advocates, both survivors. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in. What do you make of the new numbers? Trina, let's start with you. Are these more women coming forward? Is there more misconduct in your view, or is this a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both. My first impression is, of course, it's women that are 17 to 24 years old. There are young enlisted, members that are coming in. There's the culture that they're coming into and the climate that they're coming to, which they mention in the actual report is about the climate. And I think that there's this huge problem that the people that we're bringing into the military is walking into this culture where rape and harassment and retaliation and all these things are happening. And I do see it as a huge problem, and it's something that needs to be changed. I mean, I've been advocating for veterans since 2010 after, and dealing with my own symptoms. And I was raped when I was 18 years old, shortly after I went to my first duty station. So I'm seeing this as a problem right now.
I want to ask you and Stacy how you think the culture has changed or hasn't changed. We've heard stories of victims being so worried about retaliation if they come forward. Has that gotten any better?
Stacy, you want to?
Yeah, sure. From some of the work we've been doing lately, we've heard quite a bit of stories of retaliation that is continuing to this day. We hear it from veterans who have served, over a decade ago, and we hear it from veterans who have recently gotten out. We're also hearing it, from people that are active duty right now that say that retaliation has not changed very much. So no, I don't feel that it's, I think it's been addressed to the extent that everybody has acknowledged it's a problem. But we're at that point where the problem needs to stop being talked about, and we need to do something. If it's a problem, how do we, what do we need to implement within the military across all the branches where people understand that this kind of behavior can no longer continue? And, if we address it like a slap on the wrist, or we don't even have a standardization of what is retaliation, if we can't even standardize that, like, through all the different branches and have some really clear understanding of what it is and how it goes about being punished, then I think you're going to continue seeing this. And quite frankly, it's the point where it's a lot of talk and very little action.
Yeah, and Trina, in light of that, with these numbers and picking up where Stacy was saying there, I mean, do you have any confidence that the military can fix this on its own, or is it going to take Congress? Is it going to take the president to implement some of the changes from the outside?
Well, I think, to answer a few of those questions, my gut says, yeah, there's going to be some changes, but I think, what you're saying is we need to actually call out the president a little bit and say, this is your military, you're behind veterans, this is, what you say, why aren't you doing something about it? Because the way things have worked in the past, it's not getting any better. When you have numbers that have jumped in over the past 5 years to where they're at today, over 20,000, that's incredible. I mean, then nobody's doing anything about it. And we're hearing, I just don't want to hear that rhetoric of zero tolerance. I've heard it for over 20 years, and hopefully I want to see action, just like Stacy said.
And Stacy, what other action do you want to see from military leaders or from concerned citizens?
Well, I think that we all need to acknowledge that, there are some narratives going on here that certainly need to be addressed. First of all, this is not a gender issue. Yes, I understand that the Pentagon is recognizing that this is happening to mostly women, but we cannot deny the fact that this happens to men and women. We don't take want to see how many people with blue eyes versus brown eyes. This is happening to service members, period. And because of that, we need to stop looking at this perhaps as just a sexual issue. This is an abuse of power issue, down from the lowest rank all the way to the highest. There are significant examples of abuse of power, which equals retaliation when one reports, which means that we don't feel in to report. And yes, I'm glad you guys brought that up, because truly I believe, let's call on the president. Let's find out, hey, sir, you are the commander-in-chief. What do you plan on doing to address the abuse of power issue happening into your military, where in 1 year, 20,500 of us are reporting, again, this is the number just reporting, right, are reporting some sort of rape, sexual assault, hazing gone too far. I mean, we've got to really address.
Yeah, it's really something. The numbers, again, 20,000 just in the last year alone. That's an uptick. Stacy Thompson, Trina McDonald, thank you both so much for your advocacy and for sharing your voices with us here in the briefing room. Appreciate you very much. We'll continue to follow this.
It has to go a long way just to have such powerful women that are willing to speak out and be public and keep fighting on behalf of others, especially others who are worried about retaliation.